there's no victory in being in the middle ground, right? Mm-hmm. You're either a commodity or you are incredibly highly valuable. Mm-hmm. And the thing that I want to portray to people is I don't take on that many clients because I want to invest all of the care that I can into those clients. And someday I want to have a team that helps me do that.
Okay.
Because people are always going to be hurt, right? So, no matter how much technology advances, they're still always going to get hurt, And no matter what we've seen in the healthcare space, all these quick fixes, injections, this, that, and the other, we know that our hungry customers are not going anywhere, right? There's always going to be people who need that. And unfortunately, there's always going to be people who get subpar care first, who I wish I could have met and intervened with before they spent all that time and money doing something else. Mm-hmm. But to me, it's like, look, I am committing to be your guide through this whole thing. I'm investing in you. And then I also, in return, ask that you invest back into yourself.
Welcome to Well Coached, a podcast about how people, sales, profit, and self can transform your business. I'm your host, Chris Weinberg, and I have helped hundreds of entrepreneurs get into their highest productivity zone and become corporate enough to succeed. Let's get into today's episode. Hey team, today on the Well Coached podcast, we are joined by Dr. Alec Dragelin. He is a rehab chiropractor, hybrid athlete coach, and a rising voice in this functional movement and preventative care space. We're going to learn a lot
Welcome
today.
to Well Coached, a podcast about how people, sales, profit, and self can transform your business. I'm your host, Chris Weinberg, and I have helped hundreds of entrepreneurs get into their highest productivity zone and become corporate enough to succeed.
Especially if you're
Let's get into today's episode.
Dominant thing. You may think the exercise or the taking care of yourself goes to the wayside. Then all of a sudden you get sick and you go to a doctor and get a pill, and God knows what can happen then. He's going to give us some tips on how to hopefully prevent that or come through that in the right way. But our common bond is you'll probably recognize him for greatness already because he is a Tar Heel fan. So he is from the great state of, spent a lot of time in the great state of North Carolina. We share a Charlotte background and a love for the Tar Heel background. So Alec, welcome.
Man, Chris, thank you so much for that introduction. That was awesome.
Was that okay?
Yeah, it was great. Really appreciate you having me on.
Good. It's going to be good. So we'll stay in our typical lanes of people, sales, profit, and self. And I want you to talk to us today about all the way from injury prevention all the way to how do we get back on track, or even daily hacks to help not get sideways. So if you're okay, I'm going to dive in.
Let's go.
Okay, cool. You described something called this therapeutic alliance as like a number one predictor of a good outcome.
Sure.
What is that?
Exactly. That's a great question. So therapeutic alliance is this sensation that if you've ever been in the healthcare space or you've ever gone to a doctor, you may have realized when it was there or when it wasn't there. You just may not have known what that thing actually was. But essentially, therapeutic alliance is the bond and the mutual trust that the patient and the provider have for one another. So it's their willingness to work together as a team towards a common goal.
Okay.
So what's very interesting about it is that when we look at outcomes for healthcare, it really has very little to do oftentimes with the skills of the provider, with the confidence that the provider has in their abilities to do a good job, right? Or even the confidence that the patient has in the provider. But it is all centered around this idea that you as the patient and your provider are working together towards a common goal. So there's a alliance within the therapy, aka therapeutic alliance, where you are working together towards getting that outcome. And if you both mutually have that bond and that trust together, it's really, really incredible because communication can be clear, right? Expectations are laid out, and now everybody's working on the same team.
Boy, that's different than traditional medicine, isn't it?
It sure is different than traditional medicine.
Yeah.
And so unfortunately, a lot of the way that our healthcare system is structured now really doesn't lend itself to being able to provide that therapeutic alliance in a meaningful way.
Yeah.
Right.
We'll dive more into that. You're working with people who love movement, but may be held back by pain. So what have you learned about motivation and identity in that kind of group of people?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I think the concept of motivation is one where, the old adage of you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, right? And I guess the caveat to that is if the horse gets thirsty enough, eventually it's going to drink water,
okay.
right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I don't know if you're an Alex Hormozi fan or listen to him at all, but he uses that a lot. It's like, I guarantee you I can make that horse drink. You just deprive it of water long enough, it'll start drinking, right? And so oftentimes what we see in the physical medicine space, in the rehab space, is that people have been dealing with certain injuries or certain pain points for just such a long time. And maybe they're that person who just says like, you know what, I'm just going to put this to the back of my mind because I got such a busy life and schedule. Like, I don't have time to prioritize or invest in myself. I'll deal with that later. And maybe they can do that for a while until it gets to the point where they can no longer afford to do that, right? Where it's interfering with their life. And unfortunately, pain is sometimes the best motivator for us, right? So you talk about your 4 tenets. Well, in sales, right? Yeah. Sales, what's the pain point, right? What is this person coming to you with for their current pain point? And in the world of pain medicine and pain rehab, right? Yeah. It's pretty obvious. They're telling you very upfront, like, hey, this is my pain point. What's really interesting though, is that we have as humans just this funny way of continuing to justify our current circumstances and wanting to say like, either downplay what it is that we have going on, or even get to the point of saying that I still have all these other priorities that have to take place in front of my current pain. And so helping guide somebody through that and helping them see that I understand that you want to be your best self. You want to be the best mom for your kids that you can be, and in order to do that, that means that sometimes you have to carve out time for yourself to exercise, right? You've got to get good sleep, all of those things. But this nagging low back pain that you have going on is interfering with your ability to do those things. And so now it's not really about the fact that you have low back pain. That's not why you're coming to see me. You're coming to see me because your low back pain is preventing you from being the best version of yourself. And once we start to identify what those true whys are, now that's when the motivation really becomes clear. It's like, oh, you're not seeing me because your shoulder hurts. You're not seeing me because your back hurts. You're seeing me because you want to be able to throw the ball with your son in the backyard, but you can't because your shoulder hurts. So what I always say to every single person that walks in is that I can do the best evaluation in the world and give you the best treatment, the best diagnosis for your shoulder pain or for whatever it is. But if we're not taking that and marrying it with what it is that you actually care about, then what are we doing? Right? And so we have to do both of those things. And once we're able to identify what those things are, now we have the motivation it's very clear. And now that's when the therapeutic alliance happens. Now she and I, we're motivated by the same thing.
Your goals are aligned.
Exactly. It's not about the pain. It's about what's the meaning behind that.
We talk a lot about team dynamics on the podcast here. And so it sounds like you're a team approach. What's your role on the team? Is it coach? Is it team member? Is it what? How would you see you got a patient, they got their lives, they got their kids or their job or their work and this pain, and now they're inserting you into their team. What's your role on that team?
Absolutely. It's Gandalf. It's being Gandalf.
Okay.
I think that there's a trap sometimes, and I think this is just the way that healthcare is currently set up right now, where I have problem, I go to doctor fix problem, right? The problem is in the world of pain especially, and not just pain, but in a whole myriad of health conditions, there are so many action steps as the individual that need to be taken to be in the driver's seat and be in control of whatever condition that they have is, right? Maybe it's changing their sleep habits, their diet, it's exercising more, there's the list goes on, right? But if we don't, as individuals, take ownership of whatever it is that we have, then we're just going to somebody for this passive help, and just the long-term results of that are never good. And so my goal is not to take the ring into Mordor for Frodo, right? But it's to help guide Frodo to Mordor, right? And that analogy might be lost on some of your audience, but
most of them probably would.
Hopefully, if you have like a nerdy male audience, they probably will understand who that is.
So, okay, I'm kind of shifting into the sales part now. So you've got to do some messaging to help people understand that pain doesn't mean stop the pain. It means some kind of shift in a lifestyle or things like that, right?
For sure.
Yeah, you really. educating hard. And I always was thinking about your gig. We're so conditioned to just go to the doctor, get the pill, listen to the doctor, that I bet so many people don't even know how to start asking you questions. Mm-hmm. Yeah, or they're coming to you, you're catching them at the moment of complete misery.
Right.
A lot of education curve on your end, I would suspect.
Of course. Yeah. There's a lot of unknowns.
How do people start trusting you?
Such a great question. I'm very fortunate that I do feel like most of my patients trust me. First of all, I think that's a really important thing.
Especially the ones that come back a second
Especially
time,
if they're coming back, right? So I guess I wouldn't say that I've ever asked that question directly. I feel like it'd be a weird question to ask.
Do you trust
me?
That's the person you don't want to trust.
Yeah, exactly. But so it's not that I'm asking that question, but I see it in the recurrence, right? And how they're investing, and they're trusting me with their time, with their finances, and with their outcomes, right? And so in terms of building trust, I think one of the most important things for me is the average time that it took. I think they did a study on this that was looking at the average time when a patient comes into the doctor and the patient starts talking. The doctor asks, "So what brings you in?" Patient starts talking. The average time that the patient could talk before the doctor interrupted was like 7 seconds.
Wow.
Crazy.
Wow.
It actually may have been less than that. Wow. It may have been even less. And so this has been such a big thing. I'm very fortunate to have mentors who have highlighted these issues to me along the way, right? But my biggest way to build trust is I shut up. Hey, it's great to see you. Thanks so much for being here. So stoked to get to know you. Tell me your story. Shut up. And boom, let them go. And there's sometimes awkward silence. There's sometimes discomfort, but I will not interject or stop or even like ask follow-up questions until they are fully confident that they've said everything that they need to say. And now, as they're starting to spew things out, I'm collecting data points.
Right.
I'm like, oh, boom, here's this, here's this, here's this. I'm going to pull on this thread later, right? I'm going to ask about this later. And now we can start to untangle some of those things. But if you ever do the exercise of just sitting in front of somebody and asking them, how are you, right? And you let them talk for 2 minutes,
right? And
you just sit there in silence and let them talk for 2 minutes and see how much more they say. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty wild if you ever do that. It's a pretty cool social experiment at a party. Be like, hey, what's going on? Tell me about yourself.
It's excellent. We talk about on here a lot how to build trust, and listening is certainly the way to do that for sure. Being interested in someone else's story versus just waiting on your turn to talk.
Yeah.
Why do you think doctors do that? Do you think their schedules just so busy that they've got to make a quick assessment and move on?
Yeah.
And or so many of them aren't studied in your field of anything other than writing a prescription?
I think it's more the former.
Okay.
I think just because I know so many people in the healthcare field and I know how much more they often wish that they could do for their patients. And I think there are obviously exceptions on either side, right?
Right.
But I think the way that our system is currently set up is such that it doesn't afford doctors to have the time to ask some of those questions and really to be able to talk. I mean, they got to get in. You see your primary care, like you're seeing them for 4.5 minutes,
right.
And then they're in, they're out, you barely know the person. And I've got another good colleague who is trying to make that shift locally here as well in the primary care world, where he's really trying to invest in his people. And I'm trying to do the same in the pain management and rehab world, right? Getting away from, all right, you go in, if you have low back pain, you go in, you see your chiropractor for 90 seconds and then you leave, right? He gives you the same treatment that he just gave the 47 people before you, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's the model that I'm trying to get away from. And as I've started my business, I started to realize that even in my old position, I was not able to invest the time in somebody that I wanted to or what I felt like they deserved. And so in this new model that I've taken on, we have all the time in the world, right? I spend a full hour with people.
Great.
And so I get to say, hey, what's going on? What brings you in? Tell me your story, right? One of those things, not all three typically, one of those three. And then I just get to sit back and listen to them talk. And now I get to know them. And now Chris comes in and I see Chris. And by the time we wrap up with our first visit, I get Chris. I know what makes him tick. I know it's important to him, right? I know where we need to go. And now it's just building that path to getting them there.
Okay. Are you ready to elevate your business and leadership game? If you're serious about taking your success to the next level, then it's time to focus on the 4 pillars that every thriving business is built on: people, sales, profit, and self. You've heard me talk a lot about those 4 pillars in every episode of this podcast. Now's your chance to deep dive with me in person into actionable strategies that will transform your approach to business and leadership. Whether you're looking to build high-performing teams, drive sales, control cost, or enhance your own leadership mindset, you'll get the tools to make all of this happen. And this is not just theory, it's about real impact, the kind that leads to big wins, big profit, and a healthier approach to working life. And it's all happening live with me at the Nashville City Club beginning August the 5th, right in the heart of Music City, where business meets creativity. But here's the catch. This mastermind is exclusive and there's limited space. So if you're ready to take control of your business and leadership future, now's your chance to secure your spot. To register, go to wellcoachconsulting.com, where you'll learn how to build thriving teams, drive profit, and most importantly, elevate yourself. You also create a lot of good content online. And so as a content creator and an educator, what's working for you when it comes to like getting your message out? You started this business in 2023. You're out there on the hustle building your thing. What's working?
It's a great question. I wish I knew more of what was working. I think the biggest thing in this day and age that has been a non-negotiable for me is authenticity. Whether I'm on social media or I'm in person or I'm on a podcast, having multiple personalities is exhausting, first of all. So I don't have time for that. You know what else is exhausting? Listen to people talk about their problems all day, right? So I don't have the mental or emotional bandwidth to have multiple personalities. And so I always tell people that, like, hey, who you see on social media and my personality, that's who you're getting.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, that's fine. There are plenty of other people out there.
Right.
But just know that, like, I'm not going to bait and switch you, and I'm not going to have some personality online and then a different personality in person.
Yeah.
And it's just not what I am about. And I think because of that, the challenge on the social media world is understanding and watching what does well. Mm-hmm. And then having the cognitive dissonance that I could emulate that, but that wouldn't be authentic to me. I could create content in the health, fitness, wellness sphere that was like that. I could make these super absolute statements that are super controversial, and because I'm saying, no, this is the truth. Like, you have to do these things, and that's the stuff that goes viral. But the reality is that life is so much more nuanced than that, and your individual health might be different than somebody else's. Mm-hmm. So saying a blanket, definitive, controversial statement is not always the best thing for the viewer, even though it's the thing that's going to gain the most attention.
Okay.
So I think the slow roll for me has been trying to maintain my authenticity, trying to provide as much value and education as I can in my content. Like, I do like to entertain. I think it's fun. I like doing entertaining content, but it's not rewarding for me. What's rewarding for me is when someone says, hey, I saw your video on this, and it actually really changed the way I was thinking about XYZ.
Awesome.
Right? It really helped me get through this. That's what I'm about.
Awesome. I'm going to switch us to the profit side a little bit. You said prioritizing quality over quantity, being able to spend time with folks. That's not always the easiest way to be profitable, I would imagine. How are you designing your business to be both mission-driven and profitable at the same time?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think one of the things is there's no victory in being in the middle ground, right? Mm-hmm. You're either a commodity or you are incredibly highly valuable. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the thing that I want to portray to people is I don't take on that many clients at one time, because I want to invest all of the care that I can into those clients. And someday I want to have a team that helps me do that.
Okay.
So we can have an even broader reach and help even more people at one time. Because people are always going to be hurt, right? Yeah. It's like people are always going to hurt themselves, mm-hmm. No matter how much technology advances, they're still always going to get hurt, Yeah. And no matter what we've seen in the healthcare space, all these quick fixes, injections, this, that, and the other, they just never line up the way and have the results long term that we would hope that they would. You know, your stem cells, your PRP, all of that stuff that's supposed to be these miracle cures for different conditions. The data just is not there to support a lot of these things.
Okay.
And so that's the hard part. And so we know that our hungry customers are not going anywhere, right? There's always going to be people who need that. And unfortunately, there's always going to be people who get subpar care first, who I wish I could have met and intervened with before they spent all that time and money doing something else. Mm-hmm. But to me, it's like, look, one of my commitments to my patients, amongst other things, is I am committing to be your guide through this whole thing. I'm investing in you. And then I also, in return, ask that you invest back into yourself.
Okay.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so part of that lower volume model is more, premier service. It's higher value. And that's the direction that I really felt called to go, is to work with people who understand that they know that hard work takes work.
Yeah.
Right. They're not there for the quick fix. They value their bodies more than they value their insurance.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so if somebody values how their body feels and what they want out of their body more than they value their insurance benefits, then I can help them. But if they value their insurance, which is likely terrible anyway.
A commodity at best.
Yeah, exactly.
An ever-changing downward spiral commodity.
It keeps getting worse. Right. It gets worse every year, right? And so coverage goes down and reimbursements go down at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's like, where's all that money going? My premium's going up, but my coverage is going down, and my doctor's also getting paid less. So, it's going to the shareholders. That's where it's going.
Right.
Yeah.
We talk a lot here about commodity versus a high value product. And
yeah.
So I'm glad you brought that right up. And
sure.
I think that a lot of getting you into the high value product relates right back to the people side of, you've got to build trust as quickly as possible. That's your value. In addition to your skill level.
For sure.
The real value is, because there's other people who do what you do.
Exactly.
The real value is how you treat them and how you're listening to them. And
dude, it comes down to, it's so crazy to say this, but I ask myself a lot about hey, it's the man in the mirror question. What sets you apart from anybody else? And, for a long time, like I said, I really wanted to be, we were talking, I think before we went on, that I really wanted to be the best possible clinician that I could be.
Right.
And I realized that there's actually a lot of really good clinicians out there. And there are probably some that are better than I am. And some of that I could probably do work to move myself up that ladder, right? Mm-hmm. But I asked myself the question, what if you were not known for how good of a clinician you were, but for how much you cared for your people? Mm-hmm. And I was talking to a mentor about this the other day, and I'm like sitting here getting misty. I literally get emotional talking about this. It's like, if I could have people know one thing, I want them to know that, if there's a competition between you caring about yourself versus me caring about you, I want to beat you in that competition every single time. And if I could be known for how I loved for and cared for my patients and was committed to helping them get those outcomes that they want, I don't care if I'm the best clinician.
Right. But
I'm going to be the one that has that trust and that bond with them that helps them get to where they want to get to. And I can outperform anybody in that one.
Yeah. Yeah. Back to the point of, at some point, the skill set, there's more than one of you. So what's your extra? What's your thing? And that was great. I use an analogy where you just said the competition of, I'm paraphrasing, but your health, you caring about as much as they do, basically.
Yeah.
What I'll tell my clients is, hey, I'm not going to tell you that I can ever care about your business more than you do. It's your business, but I'm going to be a damn close second.
Yeah, sure.
Right. And so there won't be a third. The third will be way off in the distance, right? I'm going to be as close to you as in care as you need me to be, or as I can be. What I will say to them, if they start lagging, and I bet this might be true for you too, don't let me care about it more than you.
I love that. I'm stealing that.
Yeah, because that's problematic also. Mm-hmm. It's hard to push a noodle.
It's hard to push a noodle.
Yeah. And it's so interesting. Okay, so the next level of success for you one day, you said, is bringing on some people under you. Was that same office? Would that be an expansion into other areas? How do you see that in the future?
Well, so currently my practice, I operate inside of a gym.
Okay.
And so it was the way for me to stay as profitable and as lean as possible as a solopreneur.
Yes. Yeah.
But I'm looking to hire on and build a team.
Okay.
And really my goal is to be the front runner in musculoskeletal care in the Nashville area, and then hopefully someday beyond as well.
Okay.
Right. So I want to create a culture that really, I mean, hopefully you've kind of heard my heartbeat behind a lot of these things, but a culture that revolutionizes our small sector of healthcare. I don't think it's feasible to change all of healthcare, but I think I can change my profession and set the new standard for what does it mean to be a chiropractor, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you ever watch Family Guy. They just released a Family Guy episode the other day of Stewie and Brian going to the chiropractor, and it's pretty funny. But it also paints our profession in a really terrible light at the same time. Okay. And for good reason, honestly. And so I want to build a team that is working to set the standard, to set the new standard for what it means to be a chiropractor in terms of the value of services that we provide, beyond just adjusting people and getting them out of there, but learning to teach them to move and to rehab them, almost blending this physical therapy with chiropractic together with strength training and conditioning and all of those things, right? Getting people's bodies functioning as better machines. Right? Yeah.
I mean, you basically serve a lot of role as a coach for that.
Oh,
right?
100%.
I mean, in our world, that people sells profit self, man. Business entrepreneurs out there, you need a guy like this, because he, as much as maybe I'm able to help you with certain things, you need a guy in your health corner as well, constantly fine tuning. And I bet you see really high value people that pay a lot of attention to their health. I mean, I think there is a direct correlation between exercise and business performance.
100%. And I think you see it too, right?
And I don't know why that drum doesn't get beat more.
I know.
But if I look even across my variety of clients I've worked with for years and years, not always, but typically the highest performers are also in the best shape.
They are. I mean, it's like how you do one thing is how you do everything, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a big part of it. And I think sometimes too, to give yourself grace and recognize that there are seasons in life for different things, right? But sometimes, just like I've got a business coach that I pay a lot of money to help me out, right? Because I know that if I'm not doing the things that my coach is telling me to do, I am wasting that money, right? But if I do the things that he's telling me to do, then I'm gonna make that money back and more.
That's right.
Right? That's what a good coach does, right? And that's my goal for people too, is that sometimes you kind of have to just like pay some dollars to care about something.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's
like
right.
you almost got to like lay it.
Skin in the game.
You got to have some skin in the game, you know? And funny enough, like I think that just in having worked in two very different models in this field, my outcomes as a higher value practice are way better than they were previously.
Awesome.
And I think it's because people care way more.
They're invested.
Because they're invested in it. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of the thing, is you have, you care, you put your money where your mouth is, right?
Man, that is a can of worms. That's a different episode.
That's a different episode.
I got so many questions swirling just from that, but we'll go down a rabbit hole. You're helping people, I'll move into the self category a little bit. You're helping people rewrite the story of how they talk to themselves about pain and capability. What's a story you've had to rewrite in your life?
There've been a lot. I'll save the emotional relationship one for a different time.
Okay.
Even though it's a great one. But I think in my field, I love to strength train. I love to lift weights. And I treat a lot of injuries as a result of those things. I'll caveat this by saying, if you exercise for long enough, at some point you're going to get hurt. Mm-hmm. But I will take a musculoskeletal injury over a chronic disease every day of the week and twice on Sunday.
Right.
And so if that means that my little thing that I got hurt doing here is I was doing something that I was going to prevent obesity, heart disease, diabetes, any of those things, cancer, right? We're now seeing that exercise has impact on cancer risk, right? I'll take a little injury a couple times a year or whatever over those things all the time, any day, right? So I got hurt 2 years ago deadlifting, and I herniated a disc in my back. So I blew a disc in my back. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Not a great injury to have. Mm-hmm. Really sucks. And the hard part about that was it took me out of the thing that I loved for a very long time. And I had to learn how to do this thing to myself that I was always doing to other people, like guiding them through rehab.
Yeah.
And I was having to now be accountable to myself to do the same thing that I would have my patients be doing. Mm-hmm. And it taught me a lot about that injury in particular, but it also taught me about having patience with it.
Yeah.
And realizing that sometimes things don't progress as fast as we want them to, but it's important to continue to do the right steps. So if you do the right inputs, eventually you get the right outputs. Business is no different, right? And so it took me a year and a half to get back to my full strength from that injury. So it took me a year and a half before I was deadlifting the same amount as I did before the injury. And it took me another probably half a year, 3/4 of a year to feel like I was finally stronger than I was after that injury.
Okay.
And so all of that to say is sometimes you just got to put your head down and you just got to focus on what we can do today, and then do the right things, put in the right inputs, and
sooner or later the result will come.
Mm-hmm.
Marathon, not a sprint.
That's exactly right.
You clearly have a lot of passion for this. Where did that passion come from?
I've always wanted to be in healthcare. I've always wanted to help people. When I was in college, I just had like this moment where I realized I wasn't really, I think, philosophically aligning with the idea of working in like what I knew at the time as healthcare. And I was like, there's got to be something else out there that I can do to help people be healthier, but that's not just like writing scripts or doing surgery, right? And so I honestly found chiropractic, and I at the same time had really started getting into my own fitness journey, where I was waking up at 6 a.m., which might as well be middle of the night for a college student.
Yep.
And I was hitting the gym every single day because I actually had gotten really, really sick. I was in the hospital for a few days. That's a whole other story. But I had lost a ton of weight and I looked terrible. And I was like, I got to fix this. So testosterone's pumping at an all-time high as a sophomore in college. So let's go. Let's go hit it. This is my time, baby. Right. So that got me into the fitness world. And then at that point, I started to learn more and more and realize that, wait, I can blend my love for movement and fitness and exercise with the idea of helping people. And the spectrum of when we think about movement issues, whether it's injury or whether it's performance, it's all one spectrum. Mm-hmm. And so there's a spectrum from rehab all the way up to performance, and it's really just a continuum. And so it's like I get to find wherever somebody is on that continuum, where their starting point is, where they want to get them to, and now I can help them get there. And once I learned that actually existed as a profession, I was like, this is awesome.
That's great.
And so that's kind of where it came from.
And then tell me about what you had to work through in your head to go strike out on your own. Because so you found the passion, you found the lane, then you probably started working for somebody, and then you decided your next passion is I'm going to go do this on my own.
Exactly.
How'd you get there?
Oh, yeah. Slowly.
That's okay.
It took a long time for me to have the confidence in myself to say, oh, I can do this. And a lot of that, I think, was based in what I had seen in my profession, being just realizing that it was this constant like, we're David against the Goliath of insurance companies, right? Mm-hmm. And reimbursements in our profession are so unbelievably low. It's like the highest reimbursement rate that we can get for a treatment is like $45.
Wow.
Right. And so if you want to provide any kind of quality of care to somebody, like that's where getting high volume practices really make their money is, if you can see 10 people in an hour, $45 is pretty good.
Right.
Right. But if you only want to say, hey, I want to spend 1 hour with you, $45 is very bad. Yeah. Right. And so that like was a narrative that I think was whether directly or indirectly shown to me, something that I believed and I was nervous for. And I thought people aren't going to want to pay cash for something that they could use their insurance for.
Okay.
And once I started realizing that was just not true at all, that especially in I think younger individuals, the 30 to 50 age range, people get it that their insurance kind of sucks, and that if they want high quality care, they might have to pay out of pocket for it.
Okay.
And then it just becomes a game of branding, marketing, and sales, right? And it's like, if you have a good enough message, if you speak to the right person, if you care about that person, if you can have the right structures in place, like people are willing to invest in themselves. And so once I learned that and had some mentors kind of guide me and show me how that was possible, I was like, okay, I think I'm ready.
Awesome.
Yeah. And it's been great.
Are you liking it? You like it?
It's so fun.
It's the best, isn't it?
Every day is just the best day.
Go bet on yourself, people.
That's right.
Go bet on yourself.
I'm so glad you said that.
Let's talk about longevity for a second. If what this be for the audience? What are 2 or 3 practices that might have the biggest long-term payoff for health and movement?
I love it. I mean, top 1, top 2 have to be sleep and exercise.
Okay.
Which may not come as a surprise to most people. I've so much realized in the last year how incredibly valuable sleep is. Both from a mental clarity and productivity standpoint during the day, right? Being able to do high level, complicated tasks, run a business, and clinically reason and think through and engage with this person in front of me. But also just from a recovery standpoint, right? To make sure that your body is resetting and is healing. Like, sleep is the time that your body heals. It's the time that your body regenerates. And if we're robbing ourselves of that sleep, even by a little bit of percentage every night, then we're going to have to pay that debt back eventually.
Right.
And so it's like it's similar to somebody who goes on a diet and they're like, I've been dieting for 6 months and I haven't lost any weight. And you say, well, tell me about your diet. What have you been doing? And they're like, well, I'll tell you, Monday through Friday, I'm eating salads, I'm drinking water, I'm getting lots of protein. This is great. I don't know why this isn't happening. It's like, well, tell me, what are you doing on Saturday and Sunday? It's like, well, Saturday, I have a whole pizza, and Sunday's ice cream day because it's ice cream Sundays, right? And so we go get ice cream. And it's like, well, that's why you're not losing weight, is because you're ruining your diet 2 days out of the week. That's like, what is it? 2 out of 7 is, what's that percentage? Who knows? I don't know what that percentage is. That's I'm not sure. Whatever that percentage is, that's a big percent. Too much. It's too much.
Yeah.
Too many days.
Yeah.
Right? So it's the same thing with sleep. Is like, if you're just saying like, oh, well, what's really the difference between 6 and 8 hours? It's like, it's only 2 hours, but 2 hours day in, day out now becomes a substantial difference.
Right.
So that's a huge thing. And if you need more information on sleep, look up the work of Matt Walker. He's fantastic. He's got all the research and work on sleep that you ever need. Okay. But
that's a big one for entrepreneurs, especially early stage entrepreneurs who you can accidentally become a slave to your business very fast. And so sleep, what are the things that get cut out? Taking care of yourself.
Set those boundaries, right? Like, let fires burn and set the boundaries to prioritize taking care of yourself, because I promise you that fire does not have to be put out right now. It can wait till tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, it will be fine. And it probably can wait a few more days than even tomorrow.
Right.
At the end, very few things are actually that urgent. And so,
so sleep, and then what else?
Yeah, I'm going to say, exercise is the huge one, right?
Okay. So what does exercise mean for somebody who doesn't have that much time, or really hasn't been in the game very long, or So I don't want to say the word minimal standards, but what are things people should be doing?
Yeah, we can talk about what's optimal. We can talk about what's minimal.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I don't love to say what's the least that I can do to get the least bad results, because that to me is not really super helpful. It's like, shoot for the moon and land among the stars if you have to, right? But if we can talk about what's optimal, the reality is that most people aren't going to be hitting what's optimal. But if you can strive for optimization, then you're probably going to be you're at least going to land on the dartboard.
Right.
You may not hit the bullseye, but you'll be on the board. So really what we want to think about doing is we have to break this down into our strength training, like resistance training, and then our cardiovascular training are the two big pillars. And strength training is so valuable for life, right? Because it strengthens bones, so it helps maintain our bone density. It helps maintain our independence, right? So many important things that if you have plans for being around for a long time, like, name a 90-year-old who wishes they had less strength.
Right.
And just like right now, hopefully those listening to the podcast are saving for retirement right now, right? They are saving away, holding away for retirement. You have to save for retirement in the strength category as well. It's one of those things that once you reach a certain point, It's not that it becomes too late. Like, you can always start saving, but gosh, does it make it a whole lot harder if you wait to start saving for retirement when you're in your 40s versus if you had started in your 20s, right? And so that's, I think, a really important thing, that if we can prioritize strength training, it's crucially valuable. It doesn't have to be very long, right? 4 exercises, 4 sets of each exercise, 6 to 8 reps every set. Start small. Each set gradually get a little heavier, and just make your last set hard. As long as your last set you finish and you say, man, I'm glad I don't have to do any more of that, you probably did enough.
Okay.
Right? And so you can just get that. I mean, that whole thing takes you 40 minutes. It should take you 40 minutes to do that.
How many times a week?
I would say minimum 2.
Okay.
2 for maintenance. Okay. 3 for improvement.
Okay.
If 3 to 4 for improvement is really what you want to say, but minimum 2. Above that, truly, I mean, on the cardio side, you really have to kind of see where you're at. Some people, going on a walk might be sufficient.
Okay.
Getting outside walking for 45 minutes to an hour might be sufficient. Some people, it might be something higher intensity, running, doing stairs, riding a bike, whatever it might be. But we also have to think about that the number one predictor for all-cause mortality, AKA the number one thing that predicts our lifespan, is a metric of cardiovascular fitness called VO2 max. And so if our VO2 max is falling or it's suffering, which is a proxy for the state of performance of our heart and lungs, of our cardiovascular system, right? If that is falling, then our chances of survival against anything is going to go down. And so if you're trying to be here for a long time and a good time, like, spend time doing cardio training.
How do people get that VO2 measured? How does someone say, I need to go do that?
Yeah, you can get it tested. There's certain labs in town that will test them. But for most people, we know like I said, the inputs and outputs, right? We know the inputs that it's going to take to boost that VO2 max and to maintain it and all of those things. So it's almost like, well, just now, just go do the stuff, just go do the stuff.
Right.
Like, I haven't had my VO2 max measured since I was in college, just because at this point it's like, well,
you're putting in the reps already.
Put in the reps. Yeah. Just do the reps.
This has been awesome. You're definitely bringing a whole lot of energy to a super important topic, and helping people rewrite what their own story about what their bodies and health journey should be.
I love it.
How do people find you? Yeah,
so one of the easiest ways to find me is on Instagram. Okay. I'm at dr.alec.dragelin, Dragelin. That's one of the easiest ways to get connected with me. That is me. I'm a real person on there. And then they can go to my website as well, which is thelabrehab.com.
Okay.
And let's check that out.
Yeah, guys, this is an important part of your journey. When People Sells Profit Self, this is the guy that can help you stay out of trouble, or if you get in trouble, help you get through it in the most productive way, which then in turn allows you to pay attention to your business.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Thanks a ton for coming.
Man, thank you for having me. This is a blast.
Awesome. All right, guys, go like it, share it, tell all your friends about it, and we'll see you soon.
Well, guys, that's a wrap for today. We thank you a ton for listening and looking forward to the next episode, where we'll continue this journey on how becoming corporate enough can put you in your highest productivity zone to create a successful, profitable, and purpose-driven business for you.